13 days until Election Day. Let's talk race for the White House with the ABC News political unit. ABC Deputy Political Director Averi Harper joining us. Averi, look, we are 6 days into early in-person voting here in North Carolina. The numbers so far have been record-setting. Lots of Democrats voting, but in a change from past years, we're seeing many more Republicans voting early this year. What are you reading from the early voting tea leaves here?
Right. Just like in North Carolina, we're seeing that pattern across the country, where we're still seeing Democrats outpace the number of Republicans who are voting early. But I think it's really indicative of some of the messaging that we've seen from the Republican side. Last time around, we saw folks like former President Trump and his Republican allies really sowing doubt about how folks were voting early, whether they were voting early and in person, voting using ballot boxes, mail-in methods. That is not the case this time around. We're seeing Republicans, by and large, encouraging folks to vote any way that is available to them. And so that could be part of the reason why we're seeing, more Republicans voting early than we did last time around. And when we talk about the numbers just generally, the fact that they're record setting, millions of folks across the country have already cast their ballots, it is really an election season rather than just an election night or an election day. I think that's because folks are really engaged and are paying attention to this race. I think that they are energized by these two candidates, or are probably energized by fear of what the other candidate, what their not preferred candidate could do should they reach the White House. And I think that's been part of the closing message that we've seen from both Vice President Harris and from former President Trump.
Yeah, folks on both sides seem super eager to vote. Look, I want to ask you about that new interview with Donald Trump's former White House Chief of Staff, John Kelly, going on the record calling Trump the definition of a fascist, saying if reelected, Trump would rule like a dictator. We heard Kamala Harris just this afternoon underlining Kelly's words, calling Trump increasingly unhinged. Look, Averi, we're 13 days out from Election Day. Lots of folks already voting. Do comments like John Kelly's make a difference at this point?
I am skeptical if it will make a huge impact. Like you mentioned, so many folks have already cast their ballots. But this has been a part of the messaging from the Harris campaign from the very beginning, is that they feel that the former president does not have the temperament to be in the White House again, and have in fact framed him as a danger to democracy. And so I don't think that this is going to move a significant number of folks away from former President Trump and into the Harris camp. But when we look at swing states, places like North Carolina, battlegrounds, where this race is going to be won and lost by very narrow margins, anything could make the difference in terms of, if some of these undecided voters, and there are still some undecided voters out there, whether they decide to cast a ballot for former President Trump or for Vice President Harris, or stay home.
Maybe not an October surprise, but an October blip. But at this point, every blip could count. Averi Harper, ABC News Deputy Political Director. Averi, good to see you. Thanks.
Thank you.